What's up? What's up, North County? I'm your host, Randy Doty, and today we have special guests here. We have the San Luis Obispo Sheriff Department K-9 Unit here, and we have Deputy Mora and Deputy Leon with us, and their dog, Bless. This is awesome. This is an honor to have you guys here and have you on the show and bring the dog. I mean, this is a massive, powerful dog.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to share the story and share the event of what we got going on. So Katie, I'll start with you. So tell me about you and tell me about what you do with the Sheriff Department.
So right now, my current assignment is a K-9 at North County. So I run Blesk. He is a 3-year-old German Shepherd. He's from Slovakia. He and I have been together for about 2 years. I've been at the North Station for a little bit. We have been on patrol. I've been on patrol for about 4 years, and before that, served about 6 years in total with custody between probation and the sheriff's office.
Very, very cool. And what about you, Andrew?
Well, thanks for having us again.
Yeah, you bet.
So my name's Andrew. I'm a K-9 deputy as well. My K-9 partner is K-9 Mando. He is a 3-year-old Dutch Shepherd who's trained in explosive ordnance detection, and he's also patrol rated. So that's finding bad guys, searching for people, and then we also do some tracking on the side. I've been with the department for almost a little over 10 years. About 4.5 of that was in the custody division, and I've been on patrol for almost 6 now. And I've been working with K-9 Mando out of our Los Osos substation for about 1.5 years.
So when you brought your K-9 in and you had yours in here, but they don't really socialize, they're not like that. So when they came in together, they were kind of like, it was super excited. They're both very high energy, but the dogs don't really kind of mingle that way. Is that right?
So we brought them both in just to give it a shot. None of our dogs in our unit are dog aggressive, whereas that's kind of one of the things for canines in general. So you might have at home, your terrier, whoever it is, another dog walks by and they want to go engage that dog, and that's just a pack mentality. They want to be the alpha. So that's not unique to police dogs, but it's just kind of multiplied with police dogs. So they can interact here with each other and be fine. It's just in an abundance of caution. They're just these dogs run at a 10 of 10. They're not going to go for a leisurely walk. They're going to go for a sprint. So both 2 dogs at 10s, they'll exist in here and be fine. They're obedient to us, but it's just so much energy. The risk of them maybe getting upset that, hey, Blesk has got that toy that I want to play with. So we just put Mando up.
Right, which they did. It was like, I'm like going, okay, cool. Now I'm like going, okay. This is good. If this gets sideways, I hope those chains, you guys can hold on to those things.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. In a dog fight, some of you folks at home, you don't ever want to have a dog fight.
No.
Even if you got 2, I grew up breeding terriers, so we had fox terriers and border terriers. Man, there's nothing worse than a dog fight. And especially
trying to get in the middle of it.
If you got police dogs, oh gosh, if you got police dogs, they're very obedient. We can get them off, but we don't ever want to have accidents. That's how dogs get hurt, and that's how we get hurt too. Yeah.
So tell me, and I'll start with Katie. Tell me how you got involved with. Is this what you signed up for the Sheriff Department to do? You're like, I want to work with the K-9 and be in the K-9 unit, or did this just kind of fall on your lap?
Well, funny you asked that because with Mando, this is Andrew's second dog, Mando. He had Rogue before that, and when I was stationed at Coast Station, he asked me to train with him a couple times in decoy for some very short searches while on patrol. And then he had asked me, like, are you interested in working a dog? And I personally like to pull drugs off the streets, and I knew when I put in for the dog for North County, it was a specific North County assigned dog, he was going to be a narcotic dog. So that was my driving force behind putting in for a K-9.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what about you, Andrew? How did this, you sound like you're all about the dogs anyways, since you did that kind of your whole life.
Yeah, it has always been kind of an undertow in my life. I've told the story before, but I grew up in Santa Rosa, California, and I remember in about 2nd or 3rd grade, we had a school assembly, and the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office, K-9 deputy, Ben Tenhave, brought his a big old German Shepherd to a school assembly. And I remember thinking, holy moly, that is the coolest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And ever since then, I've always wanted to be a canine handler. We grew up, we bred terriers, and then we had Doberman pinschers. We did obedience, agility, rat trials and stuff like that. My grandpa owned a veterinarian hospital back up in Santa Rosa, so I've always been around them. I got the law enforcement itch just by, not by accident, but I went on a couple ride-alongs with a friend. We got into a pursuit, and I'm like, dang it, this is
The adrenaline.
this is the best thing I've ever done. And then, knowing that K9 was out there, I've always just wanted to couple the two, and I've truly found. I've been lucky enough with the sheriff's office here. We have 6 dogs, soon to be 7 in the department, and I mean, I was just trying to weasel my way into the unit as fast as I could.
Right? Well, I mean, I'd say you're a good candidate for that.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
So, it's interesting. So Doberman pinschers, I've always, or in my mind, has seemed to be like the protection dog. You always see, Doberman pinscher sign, dog on with
Beware dog.
Yeah, I mean, but what's the difference knowing that you've handled that and you raised those compared to the German Shepherds? Is there a mentality difference between the dogs or attitude, or what do you see a difference in?
There is definitely a difference. There's a size difference. Doberman pinschers are a little, for me, ours that we bred were a little smaller in terms of like overall weight and stature, and I feel like they were always getting hurt too. And until they get to a few years old, I felt like all my Dobermans, they were always really dumb. I don't know if that's a breed thing, but until they got to like 2, 3, 4 years old, I felt like they were just like these adolescent boys that just always were clumsy and getting hurt. Now I know they were a military dog, they're working dogs, and I've seen them do protection work and law enforcement, but just a lot of our dogs in law enforcement and working dogs come from Europe, and they have established breeding lines out there with German Shepherds, Dutch Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, who have just shown themselves in trainability, durability, and the breeding lines are just so pure and good that it's just kind of the natural fall to for law enforcement is those 3 main breeds for the patrol side of things.
And is it true that the dogs, the K9 unit dogs, speak German because they're German Shepherd? You give them German commands? Is that true?
So Blesk understands Czech. So I think there may be another Czech dog. I really feel like the transition between the Dutch Shepherds and the Malinois we're really driving towards that versus the German Shepherds, just because their composition and their health issues. Durability as far as the Dutch Shepherds and Malinois is really what we're going to, and they obviously understand different languages. So you don't see very many handlers speaking German to their dog much anymore.
So another fact check there, right from your mouth.
Yeah, it just depends on the dog too, because Mando's from Holland, so his commands are in Dutch. So it's as simple as where the dog came from and what the native language is there. So he's from Holland, they speak Dutch there, so he speaks Dutch. We do have a German dog, a German Shepherd, K9 Corvin, who's our longest tenured K9, handled by Cedric Adams down at our South Station. And then, so they also have French is a common, French ring sport is a very common dog sport. So you'll have dogs in the United States that speak French. I make fun of them because I think the commands are a little bit weird, like "Aussie." They're very like flowy and kind of weird, and we always make fun of them when we hear them in a friendly kind of way. But Dutch, German, and then Czechoslovakian are probably the most, and then English. If we go to our canine vendor, Gold Coast K9 out of Moore Park, Ventura County, they have a breeding program where they have a very well established. His name's Devil, a Dutch Shepherd, huge, magnificent, great dog.
Devil.
Yep. Yeah, it's not like Fufu or Fifi kind of a dog. He's Devil, and he's Devil for a reason.
Wow.
But he's got a very established breeding line. You'll find him in Europe, United States. His pups, and he's sired a lot of litters. But they're English. If they're bred here, a lot of their commands are in English. So it just depends on where they're from.
So would you say like the K9 unit dogs are like say a horse, comparing like a racehorse? It comes from these lines of long breeds, and the bloodlines run deep. Is that kind of the same scenario for the dogs?
That is 100% accurate. I would say that the horse world and the dog world, when you dive down into the nitty-gritty of it, are very similar, just on a smaller scale. Obviously, horses are much larger. They take a little bit more upkeep to maintain just because of the sheer size of them. The dog world, you'll go into Europe where sport dog is a little bit more is more popular, so like KPMV. But if these dogs are over there, just like horses, they're titling in these events. And if you have a dog that's titled into 1, 2, those dogs fetch, and they do that for a reason. They'll fetch the titles, and then they'll turn to sell the dogs to breeders who will then sire them. And if you have a KPMV dog that's a Title 1, that dog will fetch quite a sire fee, and then the puppies are worth a lot more as well. But not just the money side of that. That dog is established. It's not easy to get titled in those sports, and so that breeding line is going to be extremely good. So for police dogs, if we can get those titled dogs in the police world, that's excellent for us because we're going to get a great quality dog.
Wow, that's crazy. So, Katie, tell me about your what do you call him? Is your dog your canine blast? I mean, what do you yo? I mean, what do you?
I mean, if I'm going to call him by his name, it's either going to be B. He knows B pretty well, but Blesk he knows his name well.
Blessed.
Blesk with a K.
Oh, blessed.
Blessed.
And where did that name come from?
He came with that from overseas. He was born in Slovakia. It's on his birth certificate. It means lightning, and he's extremely fast. So it's part of him. I didn't want to change it. He knew it well, so.
Or B.
I found it necessary to keep it. Yeah, or B. Mm-hmm.
And does he respond differently to the name, like in authority command, or?
I mean, when we're at home and I give him commands, he knows he doesn't have his e-collar on, so he'll listen. But when I give him the mom tone, he knows whether I call him B or Blesk.
And so tell me about your duties. I mean, you guys, obviously he lives with you, he stays with you, he's your dog.
Yep,
essentially.
so the sheriff's office does own him, but he does live with us. They all have 10 by 10 kennels. I have an extra kennel to watch other dogs, but he does come home with us every night, feed him at home, and on days off, he's kind of just a dog. I don't give him any roles, responsibilities. It's pretty minimal if he comes out of his kennel that we do any work like obedience. I kind of just let him out, break him, and the goal is to keep home life very boring. That way they still have the high drive to go to work.
Interesting. So a normal weekend going out to the river, throwing the ball isn't in his routine?
So no, not at all. Yeah.
Interesting. But you have other animals?
I have a French bulldog, and they do not mix.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Why?
Well, it's just safer not to
Gotcha.
mix other dogs, right? We don't have any. He's paralyzed. My Frenchie's paralyzed, and so we already had a stiff vet bill, and to mix the two of them, if something were to happen, it just wouldn't be a good idea.
So what is it, like a 3-day, 4-day on type rotation? Is that kind of what he does? Same with you?
Yeah, we work 4-10s.
Okay.
And then we're off for 3 days a week. I work overtime, so we tend to work a little bit more than the 4-10s, but yeah, he's just hanging out at home, and he loves it. He loves sleeping in. Like, he will sleep in until 10:30.
So he knows his days off. What about special treats? Do you get? I mean, do they get treats, or is it a specific like food kind of meal plan?
At In-N-Out, if I give him a special treat at In-N-Out, they have a no sodium patty, so I'll give him a no sodium patty. That's his special treat. It's not too often. I don't want him like interested in other food items other than his food while he's working. Say for detection when we're running him on a car and there are food items inside the vehicle.
And he's just going to town on this ball, huh?
Yep, that's his favorite. It's a grenade.
So is this his reward for just kind of being, I mean, does he get to play with the ball all the time?
Lock me. No, he doesn't. So he gets rewarded. Every day we go do obedience on duty, and then I run him for like 15 minutes, and that's his favorite part of the day. Then we'll go look for cars. Like
as in, like you guys are running, or he's on a, I mean, how does that run?
I'll basically play fetch with him, but it's a little bit more than playing fetch. We have forward downs and calling off of a toy, so he's returning to me halfway.
As he's running, you're yelling out commands for him to stop or whatever.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's pretty impressive. It's pretty awesome to see these guys work and develop through their career.
So Andrew, and your dog is a Dutch.
He's a Dutchie, yes, sir.
Dutchie, which is why it was short, it looks smaller.
Yep.
And shorter hair. Mm-hmm. But it was still a German Shepherd, but from a different descent.
So I like to think of Dutch Shepherds. So you have Belgian Malinois, which I look at like the high energy, very popular in the military and law enforcement, but they're a little smaller, leaner, and faster, quicker. German Shepherds are typically more methodical. They're like thinkers, and the mass is larger as well. Then Dutch Shepherd is like in between them. He's got that drive and kind of craziness, for a lack of a better word, of a Belgian Malinois, but then he's got a little more size, and like he's got a real, you probably saw his head, he's got kind of a square jaw. Like their bite pressure is amazing, but so he's kind of like a hybrid of the two.
And it's interesting you just said the bite pressure, because I know, like I said, I have German Shepherds, and I can only imagine, like, if they really wanted to bite down, you know, because they're on those Kong balls that are just like solid rubber, and they're still mowing through those things. And so can they judge their bite, or is there a way to train them to not like full bite down? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I understand the question. So the way police dogs are trained to apprehend, say we get in a situation where we inevitably have to use this dog now to go apprehend someone who has done some bad thing that justifies us using this dog to go find them and potentially bite them. The dogs are all trained to bite them one time and hold on. And that bite is going to be the majority of their effort. They're giving everything they have into that one bite, and they're holding on. They are not going to let go until mom or dad tells them to let go of that guy or that woman. So they bite one time, but the bite is going to be...
It's significant.
It is significant.
It's going to hurt.
We've gotten bit. It's significant.
Yeah, if you work dogs, you never really catch a foul ball every now and again. These are high drive dogs, and working decoying. So when we say decoying, that's you're putting the bite suit on, and we decoy for ourselves, and you're out there in the field or hiding in a little closet or something. Sometimes your hands get bit, but we've all been bitten by the dogs, and it's a dog bite. I mean, it's just...
It's crazy. It's funny because I asked you, hey, can I put the dog suit on and have the dog attack me? And now when I saw them and they're in here together, I was just like, man, I don't know. I'd be a little scared. I mean, it would be, because you know the force, and they're just their anxiety level and energy level is just to overtake anybody.
Yep, and that's one of the reasons that makes dogs such a vital tool in law enforcement. Is that no matter what you say, you can have the baddest person that wants to fight the cops. The SWAT team is there. The house is surrounded. You got guys that are just eating gas. They're not coming out. Something primal in humans. You see that dog or you hear that dog barking, majority of people surrender.
Oh, just the bark alone.
Just the bark. You see that dog out there, something within us from when we were cavemen and we had to fight wolves. We don't want to mess with dogs. And there's a reason for that. I don't want to fight a dog either. So that's why they're so for every time that we apprehend or have to bite a suspect, there's probably easily 100 surrenders where that person was not giving up to us, and they see we show up, we give announcements, they see the dog, they hear the dog, and they just come out peacefully, and no force is used. They just come out peacefully.
So this is after guns are drawn.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna take a bullet on, but no dogs. I don't want to give
it. As soon as that dog shows up, the demeanor of someone who's mouthing off or wants to fight instantly changes, and then we have, like I said, hundreds of surrenders for any time that we use a dog and it actually bites or apprehends someone. There's hundreds of surrenders to go along with that.
I wonder if it's a mindset because they know the last resort is going to be that pull the trigger.
Yep.
Whereas you release him, he's coming no matter what.
Yep. You can't talk him. You can't
he's
talk
showing
him down.
up. He's there to play. He's in the Super Bowl. He's ready to go down and take it down. Wow. At what point? I mean, where do you think? How do they know who to go after? I mean, obviously, if in a chaotic situation and you're after one suspect or one person, how do they know it? I mean, how do you tell them, hey, that's the guy, that's who we need to get?
Our deployment criteria is very strict. It has to be, because the level of injury put on a person, no one wants to get bit by a dog. It's going to probably have to get some stitches, and there's going to be some damage there. So in order for us to use our dogs in that sense to go and apprehend someone, it has to be safe for the public as well. Like, we can't just have our dog and go accidentally bite someone. That's unsatisfactory, and that should never happen. So if I have a suspect that's running through a crowd, is it safe to use my dog? Probably not. I'm going to have to get up close to that person. And that being said, we practice runaways where cover officers or mock cover officers are covering an officer, and they're typically going to go after that person who's the most agitated or the most animated. It's prey driving the dog. The rabbit that's moving the fastest is the thing that they're going to be focused on. And you can tell a dog's head is kind of like the red dot on your firearm. You can kind of see where his ears are pointing, and if his ears are locked in on that thing you want, that's kind of where he's going to go. So we can read the dog and see where he's going to deploy. And then that's the other thing that makes dogs such a useful law enforcement tool and a force multiplier is that I deploy my dog and I tell him to go bite that suspect over there. And something changes that I no longer can safely get this guy or he's going somewhere else. The dogs are all trained to call off. That's the only use of force tool that we have that once you deploy it, you can call it back to you and no one gets touched. That's the only tool that we have in law enforcement that you can use that. So that's
Interesting.
and they have to be extremely well trained, and all of our dogs are. They're certified on it. So that's another thing that people don't think about is that we can use this thing, send it. We can call it back though. As soon as that person, we send the dog, and that guy goes, nah, you know what? I don't think so. Just call him back. The dog will come right back.
Wow. So, Katie, how often do you have to deploy your canine?
I mean, it really kind of just depends what's going on. There could be a weekend where we deploy him 5 to 10 times and a week where we don't have any deployments for apprehension purposes. I think last year we had like 15 surrenders.
So he did his job.
At 100%. And that's basically bad guy coming out, showing his hand, saying, hey, I give up. I don't want to be bit by the dog.
And is there different levels or different categories that he's trained for and some that he's not? Like, say, I'd assume drugs. You know, he's able to sniff out,
Cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl.
And then obviously, and so that's his division, or what would you call that? He's
expertise. Trained in detection for narcotics.
Okay.
And then those are his 4 disciplines.
So he's sent in for narcotics. Well, now what about a gunman? Would he be sent in too, or would that be a different dog?
Looking for a gun?
Well, like say a shooter, an active shooter.
That's a gun problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be a different dog.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean we're going in with rifles.
Oh, okay. So we're
Yeah.
not sending the dog.
Correct.
We're not sending a dog.
I mean,
unit.
he can trail behind, like way behind, but an active shooter, you're gonna want to meet the objective, which is either getting that person in custody or the lesser of
Interesting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we refer to it as a gun problem. We are not in the business of sending our dogs on a suicide mission.
No.
Now, have I had to send my dog on someone who was armed? Yes, I have. Because ultimately, the dogs are used to keep the public safety and to keep deputies and other officers safe. So, do I want my dog to go into a room first that might have a gunman? Absolutely. If there's someone actively shooting, I'm just a normal deputy at that point. My gun's coming out, and we're going to run to that problem and address that problem and stop that threat. The dog, it's too chaotic for the dog. There's going to be people running. It's an impossible ask of the dog to do that. Do I wish I could have him like tethered to me and I could heat missile him into that shooter so that he could take that person down? Absolutely. But realistically, we can't do that. We're just going to be running a gun at that point.
I mean, also you have to think about it. If it is an active shooter and it takes him out, you're kind of like back in square one, right? You're in the same position you started in, which is he still has a firearm, lock me, and he's still actively shooting if he kills him or not. Right.
But Bless is trained to apprehend bad guys as well, on top of narcotics. So at the sheriff's office, we have 6 dogs. 5 of them are dual purpose, which means they have a detection discipline. So that means they're smelling a target odor, whether it's narcotics, explosives, or firearms. And then those 5 dogs are also patrol rated, which means they're out the area search, building search, and some of them tracking for that person. And that would be like a bite and a hold situation where they're apprehending someone physically. And then we have 1 dog that's just a narcotics dog, and he's assigned to our narcotics division.
And do they wear armored vests as well?
Yep. The patrol dogs do. It's ballistic rated.
So obviously this is just the regular vest for.
This is his ballistic vest.
Oh, that one is? Mm-hmm. Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Are they heavy?
They're what, 3.5, 4 pounds?
Yeah, I think it's around 3 pounds. It's rated for handgun. Obviously, it would be too bulky for them to wear a rifle plate. But all the patrol dogs wear this. It's line of fire. It's a pretty light, positively buoyant patrol vest for the dog. I know they have, but I don't know about San Luis. But has San Luis Department ever lost a dog due to gunmen or anything like that?
Like on duty?
On duty.
Never in the line of service, no. Thankfully.
Wow. I mean, these things are. I mean, he's an officer, right?
Yes.
He's Officer K-9, or I mean, they have the whole certificate, the whole everything, right?
They are law enforcement, they're defined as law enforcement animals. So the same as a horse that a mounted deputy would ride or patrol with, they have those same protections. They do not have the same protections as a human deputy or even a human suspect. That human suspect, in the eyes of the law, has a higher priority of life than my dog. And I agree with that. This person did this thing where they need to be apprehended. Their life is more important than the dog. It's a human life versus the dog life. Now, is that a hard decision and a hard pill to swallow? Absolutely, sometimes it is. But human life above all, even the dog or the other working animals, is always more coveted.
And are the animals liable to, say a suspect gets bit and they sue the department or the animal? Is that a liability?
Huge liability. So with any bite apprehension, a suspect has the ability to sue the agency, but
That's crazy.
Working under policy and procedure, that really kind of protects us and ensures that we are making good decisions while on patrol. So it's less of an opportunity, but I guess there always is that possibility for a civil suit.
We were talking before we started filming that the dogs you guys train all the time. I mean, you guys are, like you said, once a week, and then there's the protection unit that's down in Santa Barbara that actually works more intensely with protection animals. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. On the base level post, the police officer standards and training, which is kind of like the governing agency for law enforcement, they mandate that patrol dogs, so like you see Blesk here, need to have a minimum of 24 hours of continual education, continued training every month. So in our 30-day span, he's got to get 24 hours of documented training. To me, and luckily the sheriff and our department, that is the minimum. If we're reaching 24 hours a month, we're not doing a good job. We hold ourselves to a very high standard. I'd say at least 40 hours is probably logged per dog. And that's documented training. And then on top of that, every time the dog comes out of the car, they're doing obedience with us. Every time he's in my backyard with my kids or my wife, he's doing obedience. He doesn't really get to be a pet in the sense that I always have this expectation of performance from him and all of our dogs, that they're always working and they're always training. So once a week, we have a dedicated training day. So 10 hours every week, automatically on our schedule, is blocked off for 10 hours of training. Once a month, we go down to our K-9 vendor, which is Gold Coast K-9, and we train with our vendor down there. And then that's a conglomerate of other law enforcement K-9 units. So we get to meet with Southern California agencies, pick their brains. Hey, what's going on in LA? Hey, what's going on in Culver City? What's going on in Ventura County? And see how their deployments are going, what issues they're running into, which is very valuable in and of itself. And then once a month, our K-9 vendor comes up here to train in county. And then the other 2 Wednesdays of the month, we train just internally as a unit. Other K-9 agencies that are in the county will sometimes come and join with us because we're the largest, and we love the more dogs, the better. And so we have 40 hours on paper. And then every day we work patrol, I'm training probably at least an hour and a half of tracking, my detection, which Mando's an explosive ordnance, so I'm putting bombs out on cars and I'm mock bomb. They're bombs, but they're not going to explode.
Wow, easy.
C4 and that stuff. And then we'll do some building searches, and then obviously calls for services. So if an allied agency, Paso Robles, Tascaro PD, they run dogs, but if they don't have one available, or CHP, they'll ask, we get AOA'd all the time, which is assist other agency.
Slo, Grover.
Yep. All these agencies that don't have dogs, they rely on the sheriff's office to provide a dog service if they need it, and we go to those and happily do so.
It's funny, Bless just dropped his ball on my foot. I was like, oh, what do I do? And he kind of looked around. I'm like, I didn't do it.
Don't move.
I didn't do it. I did not have anything to do with this ball. Wow. It's such an intriguing, obviously animals are just, they're a beautiful dog, obviously, but just the power and the options that you guys have, as officers, just to de-escalate a situation just by simply him showing up, really is a protection unit or a weapon, in its own. But to see, do you guys do like public displays of the animals and how you train them or what their capabilities are?
We go do demonstrations. We have cops and kids. We go to demonstrations for various schools throughout the county. So we definitely try to get as involved as much within the county and let the kids see the dogs. Not necessarily pet them, just because, liability purposes, there's a lot going on. Some kids just kind of run up to them and get excited, rightfully so. But we'll go out and do detection demonstrations and bite demonstrations and
Yeah, so if you're watching this right now and you're a teacher or an administrator in a school setting, we do school demonstrations all the time. If you call the sheriff's office, non-emergency number, and ask to speak to our crime prevention specialist, that's going to be Brandy and Grace, you can schedule through them. We'll go to any school anytime. We love school demonstrations. That's how I got started, and that's what got my itch to be a deputy, with a canine deputy. So if you're in a school system and you want a canine demonstration, you call the crime prevention specialists, and we'll be there. We love school.
Do you get much call for that?
We probably do only a handful every year.
Really?
Just my kids are in elementary school, so I always ask their teachers, and I always do a demonstration for my son's and my daughter's classes, because the teachers are like, oh, we didn't realize you could do that. And yeah, just come and talk. The kids love seeing the dogs. And like Katie alluded to, they're working dogs. We don't have a unit that's, we don't want the kids running up and petting them. And if you're listening to this and you see a working dog, a police dog in action, assume that dog is working. Don't run up and pet them. That dog's there to do a job. But yeah, school demonstrations I love.
I wonder if that's one of those things to where they don't know that it's available. You know what I'm saying? To where, obviously I didn't know that was just readily available, that you can call up and say, hey, I want to get maybe a canine unit in here. And I'd assume probably certain times of the year, law enforcement awareness, month, and, probably trend a little bit higher as far as like those calls, but maybe just an interesting, because it obviously highlights the sheriff department. It obviously gives you, good, PR for the animals and the canines, and teaches in the same sense.
Yeah, they are they're a community resource, and I've done demonstrations for the Elks, like the Lions Club, Rotary clubs. These just a bunch of old guys sitting around. They got nothing else to do, and they wanted me to come do a bomb demonstration, talk about the dog. It was awesome. I had good conversation, great food, and most of them didn't even know that we had a canine unit. And any outreach that we can do, we're always on board, and the sheriff is on board. And that when Sheriff Parkinson started with us, we had, with the county, he was elected, we had one dog in the unit. We had one narcotics dog. So since under his guise, we have expanded to 7, or soon to be 7 dogs. So we're lucky that Sheriff Parkinson is a very big supporter of the unit.
Well, I think, like I said, a San Luis Obispo Sheriff Department is, I think, in my opinion, is on the level of its completely different level. As far as what we've seen, or what I've seen of law enforcement agencies, the Sheriff Department, San Luis Sheriff Department, Sheriff Parkinson is highly invested in you guys, in the community, in, units like this, the equine, side of, just, Special Olympics. It's just the visually, I think you guys are like above and beyond, everybody else. And then to know that the K9 is like one of those hidden gems, within the San Luis Sheriff Department that, wants to be used. And so, I hopefully, you start getting more calls after this to teachers and administrators saying, hey, we want to have this demonstration at our school with the kids, because, kids and dogs, and you guys get to tell the story.
Absolutely. I hope so too.
How long is an animal or canine? What's his career time? Is there a certain career?
Yeah, depending on the dog and what injuries it's experienced throughout its career, we'd like to see at least 5 years.
And they come in roughly, because you said he's 2?
He's 3.
He's 3 years old. Mm-hmm. And so how long has he been with the sheriff department?
A little over a year and a half.
Okay, so they have a couple years training before they become active?
Yeah, so he received some training overseas in his country of origin, and then came here to the States directly to our vendor, and was, I think, trained with them about 3-4 months. Then we repaired, so we went to school for our basic for just under 2 months. And it's pretty high intense. It's vigorous training every single day.
So usually a career, like you said, is about 5 years.
About
or
5
so.
years.
And
maybe
then
a little bit longer.
do they do they reside back with you as a pet? I mean, we saw the movie K-9 Dog.
Yeah.
You know, does he become a family pet, or how does that
So
work?
there has to be that formal transaction between the handler and the county. And then, yes, so we purchased the dog for $1. And then he's a retired guy.
Is that? I mean, I'll ask both you guys. Is that your plan with your animals, to him retire with you?
Yes.
100% for me, yes. We want to get that 5-year working life. We want to extend it a little bit more if we can, but it's only fair to the dog. I mean, they have selflessly served the department, me as my partner, their whole entire working career. And it's hard on the dog, the bite work and the intensity they put forth in everything that they do. They're not going, for a light jog. They're going for a sprint. These animals, they work at a 10 of 10 their whole career. Mm-hmm. And it's only fair to them that once they're done, I'm going to get the best crisp $1 bill I have. Here you go, sir. And he's going to come home and he's going to go on my couch and he's going to get to live that pet life now. And some of the dogs transition very well into it, but some of them we're still gonna have to work those dogs. They're working dogs through they're bred that way. So he's still gonna have to do obedience, and we'll do stuff on the side. They'll get exercise and do obedience, and I'm probably not allowed to keep bombs, but I'll do some kind of odor discipline with him just to keep him motivated and stimulated.
So the key stigma of retirement, you kind of let yourself go, you gain weight. That doesn't happen to these guys.
They might gain maybe 5 or 10 pounds, but they're still going to be pretty high energy. That now they just get to be inside the house. And
do they have to keep a certain fitness level? Fat muscle ratio. I mean, does any of that apply to the canines?
I mean, the muscle comes in with their work, but I would say endurance is most significant, right? We're out in a rural area, North County or South County, wherever it may be, doing searches for a suspect took off on foot or whatever the situation is. I mean, endurance is super significant to their working.
And is that something that you're able to judge or, kind of keep a record of?
There's no metric for the dog must jump a 7.3 foot fence in this distance, this amount of time, but we're gauging the dogs
Can they jump a 7 foot?
Yeah, these dogs easily get over 8 foot fence.
Wow.
Yeah, no problem. And that's when you start to notice the dogs, when they start losing those steps. Now we need to start thinking about retirement, because now the dog may be putting a deputy or the public at risk because he cannot get over that obstacle to apprehend this person, which would have, ended the threat to the public or deputies. But looking at the dog, it's kind of like a pet dog, honestly. For me, I like to just barely be able to see the last 2 ribs on the rib cage. If I can see the last couple ribs or feel them real easily, I know that they're doing okay. We don't want obese dogs because obesity would take away from their fitness ability. But yeah, just looking for maybe a couple ribs at the end.
Really? So that's natural?
Yeah,
to see the ribs on the
you
tail end?
You don't want to see a whole rib cage,
Right.
but just maybe the last 2, you can just start to kind of see maybe the indent, or if you put your hand on them, you can just feel them right there. There's nothing in between them, just the last couple.
If you look at Blessed, you can see his flank and then a rib or 2.
Yep. And they get by the time we get the dogs, they get fed very good food, kind of like an athletic blend of food. But they get a pretty how many cups your dog gets. Sorry,
I totally didn't listen to you because the dog looked at me, kind of freaked me out a little bit. So you keep them on a pretty close regimen on their food.
Yeah, they're very structured. Mando gets, I have a bowl. He gets a bowl full, and that's his. Sometimes eats it all. Sometimes he eats some of it, and I give him some supplements for his teeth and joints. And
no kidding.
Proactive ones, fish oil and stuff like that, just to hopefully extend his life a little bit. And sometimes eats it all, sometimes he doesn't. But I'm never gonna let him free feed or anything.
I would love to know what you give the dogs. Like I said, we have German Shepherds, and you always hear about the hips. You hear about some of these joint issues. The rib thing is interesting because our male dog, you can see his last 2 ribs, and people are like, oh, he's starving to death, and it's
People are used to seeing dogs overweight.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, our other dog, mind you, she carries a little hip, extra weight. You know,
Call it survival layer.
But I'd be interested to know the supplements. Maybe afterwards you can let me know and text me or whatever. You know what you give them, because I'd like to give. You know, we started giving our lab some human supplement, but it was more of like inflammatory.
Okay.
And it seemed to really work for her.
Absolutely.
So it'd be interesting. So you guys are here, which, I mean, we could talk about your animal, we could talk about you guys all day long, you know, because it's such an intriguing, you know, division of, you know, any, you know, law enforcement. But you guys have a fundraiser coming up. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about how we get more people involved and more people buying tickets. So what do we got coming up?
Yeah, so we have our San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office fundraiser coming up March 9th. It's at Green Gate Ranch and Vineyard. I believe the address is 300 Green Gate. But it'll be in essentially Edna Valley. We're going to have a barbecue, we'll have tri-tip, green salad, macaroni salad, beans, and San Luis sourdough. And within the fundraiser at the event, we'll have some awesome demonstrations, meet and greet with a couple of the dogs, and maybe a little Q&A, I don't know, and go from there.
And I think you mentioned that you guys have never really done a fundraiser before.
You know what? It's been like 8 or 9 years since the sheriff's office has had, would you say, 8 or 9 years since we've had a fundraiser.
Really? And why is that? Just didn't really need funds, or just kind of funds get allocated to other places?
I think there's always a need. I think
We're lucky in the sense, like, since Sheriff Parkinson, he is so supportive of the unit, almost everything that we need is budgeted for. Now, during that budget cycle, it's just running the sheriff's office is just like running a business. Multiple $1 million budget. We put in for these things. I want X, Y, and Z for the dogs. We want these trainings. Maybe we ask for 10 things. Maybe we get 8 of them. Those other 2 things, if we still really want them, we can go to the Sheriff's Advisory Foundation, which is our nonprofit that's attached to the Sheriff's Office. And within the Sheriff's Advisory Foundation is a fund allocated just to canine. So we can go to the Sheriff's Advisory Foundation, say, hey, we would like to request this X funds for this training, or there's this new vest that we didn't know about and it's stab rated and it weighs a pound less. Is it a need? No, but it would help the dog safety. So we can go to them, and that's where those funds live. And but this upcoming budget cycle, everyone has budget cuts, including the sheriff's office, in the multiples of millions of dollars for our office. So it's not to say that the dogs are funded for. Like, we have, our program is well established, but everyone's losing a little bit. So we thought we need to proactively have a little bit extra, because if a dog goes, the dogs are in the multiple tens of thousands of dollars to get a raw sheriff's office or a police canine. I'd say on average probably $15,000 to $20,000 for the dog itself, and then the handler's got to go to that 6-week academy. The dogs have to be fed, their medical bills, and then their equipment, extra trainings. It's expensive. We have a very high quality product, and it costs money to have a good product like that. And I'm not afraid to say that dogs are expensive, because we have the best dogs in the county. I'll put Mando up against any dog in the county and the state. We have great dogs, and there's a reason for that.
Well, I think you mentioned something earlier as well, as far as like, taking them to the vet. That's just like taking a kid to the vet. Hey, they don't like to be doctors. They don't like the shots and stuff like that. But having an animal, so it's not necessarily special treatment per se. It's just like a normal dog. You would take him and get his
annual vet check,
any of that kind of stuff. So like, what are some of the things that you guys are in need of now, or some things that you're looking at that you want to bring on to the canine unit?
So most of it revolves around, so we're bringing in an extra dog. So that is a cost that it's a need.
So they'll bring you 7?
Will bring us up to 7,
Okay.
yes. We're going to have a dog that is going to be dedicated just to the jail. So it'll be a custody dog, a narcotics dog. And so that was kind of there's money for it, obviously, what's going to happen, but that is a new cost. Now we've increased our unit by 1 full dog.
So Andrew, let me stop you right there. When you say it's dedicated to the jail, so there's no handler then?
There'll be a handler, it'll be a correctional deputy that runs that dog.
Okay.
And it'll be I kind of slang term refers to the dogs as pointy ears and floppy ears. So pointy ears are our dual purpose dogs. They're the ones that are trained in protection and then odor discipline. The floppy ears are just a detection dog. So it'll probably be a lab, maybe a Springer. It'll be a floppy ear. And he'll be just inside the jail, working the jail, the honor farm, and specifically looking for narcotics in that custody setting, which is a special skill in and of itself. There are so many distracting odors. It is a different place when we bring our dual purpose trained dogs into the jail to look for narcotics. It's distracting. We don't train them there very much. So this correctional deputy, this correctional dog, that's going to be their bread and butter. So that if inmates or narcotics are being brought into the jail, this dog will be able to find them much easier.
Interesting. So bringing in another dog and some probably like obviously protection gear for the animals is some things that you guys are looking at?
This vest you see on the dog, it's a line of fire. It's a Canadian company. It's ballistic rated for handguns. I don't know what the shelf life on them is, but anything that goes on these dogs or that they touch gets worn out. Like these dogs, they go, like I said earlier, they go a 10 out of 10. So the stitching will go bad on the vests. They need to be replaced every few years. Their collars, their toys. There is a new vest that's custom fit for the dogs that we're exploring maybe getting, but it's literally, they come out and they measure the dog individually, and it's a very expensive vest, but it's £1.5 pounds, covers the whole dog. It's stab rated. So we're looking at those. And then there's some tracking courses that our vendors starting to offer that are several $1,000s. And that would be a tracking trailing class. So if a bad guy or a lost person goes off into some place and they're, little Johnny ran away and we don't know where he is, we want to go to this tracking course so that the dog can track that person to where they may have gone. And those are expensive, and those weren't budgeted for. So that's kind of the immediate needs would be, not wouldn't even call them needs, but the need requests are those new vests and then some of these tracking courses.
And Katie, for this event, are you guys going to be doing some demonstrations and stuff like that, so kind of like showcasing the canines there?
Absolutely. So we'll have a meet and greet with a couple of the dogs, and then we'll transition into a detection demonstration, likely an EOD, a bomb demonstration, a narcotic demonstration, and then we'll move into some bite work before dinner. We'll have dinner service, and then we'll move into some bite demonstrations after dinner.
And will the dogs kind of still be there hanging out at the event, or? Yeah,
so they're gonna be in our cars probably during dinner service. We're gonna kind of immerse ourselves and serve and pull plates, but they will be there throughout the entire. It's about them, so we'll be there to showcase them.
And how long do you think this event's going to go on for?
For the day, hour-wise, it starts at 4 and it ends at 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Mm-hmm. And how does somebody go? I mean, are you guys still looking for sponsors? You guys still looking for, helpers, volunteers? Tell me a little bit about that. Yeah,
so we have the volunteers pretty much covered, thankfully. And then if anyone does want to donate a silent auction, I think you guys have my flyer. So my email is on the bottom. They're welcome to contact me through there. But outside of that, we are doing pretty good. Yeah, and it is right around the corner. So
you guys are on track to. Is it a sellout thing? Can you guys sell out?
We're looking to sell out as far as tickets. We can go directly through the Sheriff's Advisory Foundation. You can use the QR code on the flyer, or you can contact myself, and I'll be happy to send you the link directly.
Awesome.
To purchase. I think we have 80 tickets left to sell. I know a lot of people have contacted me throughout the weekend, like, hey, I'm still wanting to get in. I'm like, let's do it. Let's get you signed up.
So we still got, about 2 weeks?
Yes.
Little over 2 more weeks left to sell out 80 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
It will sell out. There's a lot of people that have reached out to all of us that are just waiting to buy. It will sell out. So if you're on the fence about getting it, I would recommend that you get a ticket, because
once it's sold, it's sold.
Yeah, there's only so much seating we have available. We wish we could do a little bit more. But like you had mentioned, if we're looking for sponsors, and if you find yourself, dang, I didn't even know the sheriff's office had a K-9 unit. We are just soliciting for donations as well. And if you want to be a sponsor, we'd be very thankful if you reached out to Katie and then or the Sheriff's Advisory Foundation for any donations or items that you might want to give to us for our raffle or the silent auction. A lot of local business, we're very lucky, we have a good relationship in the county. A lot of the local wineries and businesses have donated, and that's the other thing for the fundraiser. The silent auction and raffle items are going to be very nice.
Yeah.
What can you share some items that are going to be on there?
I mean, we don't want to give all the secrets away.
No, I don't want to get them all, but some tasters.
Really, really, really nice hotel stays for the weekend. I think we have a couple, maybe 1 or 2 massages. I know we have a lot of wine packages, and it's not just a wine tasting. It's the full experience. A wine tour, like in the vineyard, their production facility, and then it's an elevated experience within the tasting room.
And obviously, is the Sheriff Parkinson going to be there? And
He's going to be there.
All the guys and kind of work in the crowd.
Yep, he's going to be there.
And there should be some firearms up for auction as well. Some high-level shooting courses that we were lucky enough to have donated, and it's really top-level shooting instruction.
So Sergeant Odom, he is who donated that item, and this has really been immersed with all of our deputies who are cooking and cleaning, and our explorers are a part of this. Like it's very much communal within our department, but we're excited to share what we love to the community.
And like I said, before we close out, I just want to give, kind of praise to you guys, because I know, like we involved with like the Sheriff Rodeo, and, that's a big undertaking, big, huge event, and everybody like, hands on deck, and the same thing with you guys and your unit is the same, all the people behind the scenes, that don't get the praise and don't get the spotlight, but, it doesn't happen without all those other people helping out you.
Very true. But more so the community. We're thankful that they're willing to be an active participant and wanting to donate to the dogs and raise money for the dogs. I mean, we're here for it. We're excited about our event, but we want to show more gratitude and are super thankful for everyone who's been so gracious and already donated. So,
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, Andrew, thanks for coming in. Thanks for bringing Blask, right?
Blask,
Did I get that right? And very intimidating, very intimidating. He just sat on my foot, so hopefully he's cool with that.
He's good.
But we definitely appreciate you guys and appreciate you guys' service out there and keeping our community as it is, today, that we get to live this great Central Coast life and with the protection of you guys in the background. So we appreciate you and we appreciate your guys' service.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very much, Randy.
well, there you have it, guys. Hey, make sure if you have not got your tickets, get your tickets. There's only 80 left. They are going to sell out. And if you are in education, these guys want to bring these dogs out for the demonstration and bring them to the classroom, let the kids check them out and get to know these dogs. These dogs are awesome. They're beautiful. And they are what our community has as our protection and these officers. And we want to thank the San Luis Obispo Sheriff Department for allowing them to come into our studio and tell us about their journey. But as always, guys, we can't do this without you and our sponsors. We'd like to thank Escalar Wines, Wine Travelers Hideaway, Visit Atascadero, 805 Customs, Santo Brothers Plumbing, Pacific 805 Spas, Hanson Enterprises, Story Termite Pest Control, Borhone Auto Center, Kennedy Club Fitness, and Airflow Filter Services. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you at the fundraiser.
Hi, this is Dave Story, small game hunter with Story Termite and Pest. We're a full-service termite and pest control company. From rodents to termites, we can take care of all your pest control needs. Call today, we can tailor a pest control program that will meet your needs and budget. Contact us at 805-460-0650 or at storytermite.com. Remember, we don't have customers, we have friends.
Hi, welcome to Kennedy Club Fitness, where we have something for everyone. We have weights, cardio, group exercise classes, racquetball, basketball, swimming, and pickleball coming soon. Here at Kennedy, we're committed to health, wellness, and community. Stop by any of our 4 locations: Paso Robles, Atascadero, San Luis Obispo, and Arroyo Grande, or check out our website at kennedyclubs.com.
What's up, North County? This is Teresa Branch with Airflow Filter Service. We are a family-owned business right here in the North County. We have air filters, oil filters, oils and lubricants, and hydraulic hoses. We provide services that include air filter cleaning, DPF cleaning, and waste oil collection. Come check us out at 1140 Ramada Drive, and we can help you with all your automotive and industrial vehicle needs.
Atascadero isn't your standard getaway. We're unique, just like you. We're growing, transforming, and figuring it out as we go. We're a town filled with innovators, artists, makers, and game changers. We're a little bit country, a little bit funky, and always authentic. We're here for your good times, your slow times, and your changing times. We're all in Atascadero. Come see for yourself. Learn more at visitatascadero.com.
What's up, North County? Nate Santos here, owner of Santos Bros Plumbing. You might recognize me with my dancing horses at local events such as the Atascadero Tamale Festival, Templeton 4th of July, and Paso Pioneer Day. I am now available for all your home plumbing service and repair needs, from minor drips and drops to emergency leaks and clogs. For the best plumbing service, call Santos Bros Plumbing, pipe wranglers to the rescue.